Welcome to another episode of the Apex Perspective podcast. Today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Kiran Shinde, who is the current CIO at Alhmra. Now, Kiran has extensive experience in software development, but I want to hear it from Kiran himself. Kiran, can you tell me more about your backstory and how it led you to what you're currently doing today at Alhmra?
Hey, hi, Aryan. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I think like any other kid in India, basically would like to learn and know more about technology. That's how I got very attached to it. And initially, as you graduate from, and you do your schooling, the high schooling, and there are obviously the internship in the exams which are there, where you usually get to understand which stream would you basically fit in India. And that's how I started my career in science. And from science, I took the technology as my major subject. And after doing that particular second year, I would say in my graduation, I realized that I have this knack for technology, and I could basically start coding and create something which is something very visible, and people can use it. I can show it and demonstrate it. That's where I think the software piece actually completely excited me. Usually India is obviously very
Mhm.
populated with respect to a lot of engineers, and so there is a lot of competition. If you want to be at a peak, you would need the highest of the education, a specialized
Mhm.
one. So then I went on to do my masters, and I think that's very much justifies your next level of education which are there, and completed my masters of computer applications. In that, it was a very easy task for me because I already had my base done during my graduation days. And in those days, you used to usually start coding from C. Then you used to gradually go to the object oriented programming to C++. It's a stage wise approach. And then no platform dependency, Java came in, and we were all fan of Java. We were working on Java, advanced Java, Java scripting, and everything was something a part of the entire plethora of the software tools that were available. and
Yes.
uh, and then I think I remember I did a couple of jobs, and I realized I'm going to be in a soup because the Lehman Brothers crisis just hit in
Uh,
2007.
okay.
And even though I wouldn't say India was too much hit, but yes, as you understand, IT is always a software suite is always icing on the cake, right? It's a luxury
Yes.
one. Yes. So when the companies are doing good, they would invest more, or if they would be very conscious if the market is not going well. So obviously it had its own hit on the airlines as well as on the software industry. And that's where I got an opportunity to work, which is something few decades behind. I started working on assemblers. So it's an assembly language where now, so I was here writing integer IJK, and I
Yes.
directly moved on to register 1, 2, and 3. And I was coding in
Wow.
those four bytes of data storage. And it was a complete paradigm shift for me. But yet very exciting, because I was working on some of the quickest servers in Texas which were hosted. Those are your mainframe servers, the AS400. And I got to work with one of the very reputed company called as a Sabres Holding, if you might be aware. It's a global distribution system, GDS, on which 108 airlines are hosted. So I work
Mhm.
for the airlines like United Airlines, Delta, then the
Yes.
Emirates, Etihad. All these airlines are hosted over there, and I was purely working. Then I moved on to IBM, and I worked for Air Canada as well, where I got to work. And I must say this, Aryan, I'm really very proud that if you ever check into Air Canada via Air Canada Airlines, when you scan your boarding pass, whatever the details come to the person standing on the kiosk is because of me.
Wow.
I
I love that.
and that's the bliss, right? You
Yes.
create something and it stays there forever, unless
Mhm.
and until it's a complete technology change. So yes, I was very happy that thing is there in the Air Canada Airlines. But then I realized, I was working for 8 9 years in the airlines, and the airline industry was not doing that good.
Mhm.
I realized, let's go for a fintech, because India was just opening up. The UPIs of the world were coming, which with the scanning you can transfer the money from one account to the another rather than adding the beneficiaries. I think the fintechs were taking up very well. And then I thought, yeah, let's get into the fintech. And I first got my break from airlines in a company called as an HDFC,
Mhm.
which is a very huge conglomerate in India. and I got to work with the life insurance leg of it. And then slowly, then I moved to the Aditya Birla Capital, which is another life
Yes.
insurance. So I have worked in the lending business, the AMCs, the mutual funds which are there. Then I've worked for the life insurance, health insurance, and considering India, as I rightly, you might have heard, anything which happens in US is first picked up in India, and it's very
Mhm.
easily picked up and took to the next level. And a lot of startups start coming up
Correct.
with their own software suites. And that's where I got to learn a lot with respect to AI, the automations, the robotic
Mhm.
processing arms which are there, and it was really great. And then the final opportunity came where I was already heading the digital part in Aditya Birla.
Mhm.
That this is one position in UAE. Would you like to manage the entire, the IT infrastructure setup? And that was only thing which was missing in my, that one feather was not there in my hat to manage the
Yes.
cyber security and the infrastructure as well. So I said, oh God, now the entire circle is getting complete.
Of
And I
course.
quickly launched onto it, and I got to learn a lot, Aryan, to be very fair. The market is different, the infrastructure
Mhm.
setup, the IDFs, the different systems which are there, multi-locations, how you implement the cybersecurity, the
Yes.
gateways, the firewalls. And obviously, then I got a break to work even for the SAP systems, which are very widely used in UAE, by the way. And
Wow.
and nothing can add more to it if you start working on Salesforce as well. So
Well,
that's how.
first, tell me more about the IT strategy behind business transformation, because this is where you're special. I've seen you specialize in your experience. How do you combine IT expertise with business transformation?
Absolutely. So there is a strategy, then you
Mhm.
need to have a right expertise, and then you
Mhm.
have to do the digital transformation. So the base is that organization should have a vision. It should
Mhm.
not, rather you can divide it into objectives and a task, but vision is something very important. An organization should have a 5 years vision. Where does it want to go? Now, I think that the automation was something which was earlier coined a lot. Now it has come to a digital transformation, because automation is something you take one particular process and automate it. Transformation is complete shift, right? It's a 180-degree shift that is expected in an organization. For that, you need to have a very fine blueprint and a very good digital strategy, and that the onus is on a CIO. And I got a very
Mhm.
good opportunity to basically design that. Secondly, you need to identify what is my current strength as an organization, and
Mhm.
what is something which you need to recruit beforehand, before you even start the entire the tasks which are there. And that's understanding, looking inward rather than looking outward. Third is that obviously you transform the processes, but you need to do a clear benchmarking. Now, benchmarking means you need to understand, either you do first in the industry, or you do first in the entire business. So suppose I'm working, for example, in a real estate. I should see, has it anyone done in the real estate industry? If
Mhm.
yes, then let me catch the bus.
Mhm.
If someone has not done at all, then let me be the first in the industry. And obviously, if someone has done it in the industry, I would rather be the first in entire segments of all the businesses which are there.
Mhm.
So these all things are supposed to be, and then obviously you identify what is something which is lacking. You identify the processes,
Right.
how much is
The gap.
automated, which is manual. That's something very important, Arya.
Now, to understand gaps in the company you work at, what is the way you do the research? What is the way you understand is something lacking?
See, it all boils down to the stakeholders, right? And when I say
Mhm.
stakeholders, I don't mean to say the board members, the executive directors. It's the person who's actually going to use it. You need to identify who are those people whom I'm
Mhm.
going to impact very positively. For example,
Mhm.
I go to an HR department. I need to understand what are they currently doing. What is
Yes.
something which is automated? What is something which is semi-automated? And what is
Mhm.
something which is not at all there? And that's how we
Yes.
need to create those three swim lanes. And need to categorize them each into all those swim lanes, go department to department, and then take your good time, because I believe in complete Japanese strategy. You need to plan well before you start execution, because that helps you to basically clean up the entire execution in a very quick time. And what I realized is that 70% or 80% of the projects fail because they are in a hush hush to implement it and show that magic to the stakeholders. I would rather ask them to be cautious, wait, let me give you a couple of other options as well. Don't just sign up for the first option to me. And
Yes.
then basically you come together and propose it to the stakeholders.
Great input, because I was going to ask you where most of these transformations, where do they go wrong when it comes to trying to make this kind of change, and you just answered it perfectly. So one other additional question I had for you is, when you're undertaking an IT strategy, what is the long-term vision usually? Does it take 3 to 4 years, or what is your specific process in coming with a long-term IT strategy?
I think it has to be minimum 5 years. But beyond 5 years, it becomes very tricky to basically manage it or maybe track it. But 5 years, yes, because see, most of the finance. So when the projects get sponsored, they get sponsored from the finance department. They would also rather calculate the 5 year TCO or a 3 year TCO. So let keep the upper outer boundary as 5 years. Now, in that 5 year, you should have a 3 year vision as well. What would you like to do in the first 3 years of that 5 years? And within those 3 years, let's divide those tasks year by year. Now, that strategy can be done basis what are my existing systems? Do I need to sunset the existing system? Do I need to
Right.
upgrade the existing system? Or do I need to put more important systems which are now available in the market? And then accordingly, you plan the entire course along with the manpower planning as well.
And when you're a CIO, now you're currently a CIO, how does that role differ from the ones you've had previously?
Actually it has become now complete 360, as I previously mentioned. When I was working as a software developer, I would start like that. I was only concentrating on a module. When I started develop as a working as a team lead or an architect, I started looking towards the technical aspect of the entire project. When I became a project manager, I was looking for a particular entire project. And when you manage the entire portfolio, maybe for a finance or you for any of the other departments, sales departments, you manage couple of other department projects. So it becomes a portfolio, and it completely depends upon specialization. So I was more into software solutioning, software development, application delivery, and management. The infra was always something which was supported by my other team. When the role as a CIO comes, it's complete 360. All the applications are under you, all the software developments are under you, the solutioning and the think tank, the blue sky thinking and the brainstorming is there, it is dependent on you. And obviously for all the software at the layer which is there, the hardware, the corresponding hardware which is there as a part of your IT infrastructure is something is also reliant on you. So you're just doing end to end, and the pressure is immense.
Right. And have you always long-term thought you want to become a CIO?
Absolutely. It was something which was there as a part of my affirmation. I manifested it as well. Just 2 years back, I was in the roles of heading the digital, and I was having that. Yeah, come on. In next, so I think I was 38 or 37 at that point of time when I
Mhm.
was heading the digital arm. I was thinking about it. I need to reach this point in next 5 years. And I
Mm,
was so strong in my thought process, my upskilling activities and learning and looking for. I actually got it manifested in 2 years, and that's how it all
excellent.
happened.
So tell me more about Gen X technology. I think we were discussing this briefly before the podcast. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we had So first of all, we had those mundane apps which were there earlier, which were working, and they got better as far as the generation got better and better, and they got automated. Then the cloud version came, and everything got hosted as a SaaS platforms, right? Isn't it? And after that, the since the likes of Nvidia and the storage has gone very 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 smaller and very impact and very very impressive. The AI is something which has picked up, the machine learning has picked up. And I would say today only I was just working on the some of the article on Salesforce. I think the agentic AI, the Salesforce agent force, is something which is picking up rampantly in the sales area as far as the UA is concerned. Coming to the newer technology, it's going to be more of hyper personalization, data analytics, customer segmentation, used for cross selling and increasing the bottom line, top line, and the bottom line of the organization. And that hyper personalization, I think it's already started. I think organized, most of our social media networks know more about us than any of our relatives or any of our friends, to be very frank. And this is all happening because the machine learning has picked up very much impressively because of the processing speed which has gone high and the storage which has actually shrunk, and it's become very effective.
So now I want to move the conversation to more about you, Kiran. And the one question I had for you is, what is something about your life or about you that you wish more people knew about?
Um, that I wish.
That you wish more people knew about?
More people knew about it, right? Yeah. So I actually was, very much blessed to have my schooling done, around my family, in the same city. I was very fortunate enough to have all my, work, the entire career of working experience, everything around in the same city. Few of those were on the deputation; those were okay as far as the projects are concerned. But when I got this opportunity, and which actually I was very much very manifesting about, it was something for permanently going away from your family and from your city where you have been there, and it's like your own backyard, right? Coming to UAE was obviously a cultural shift, as far as the working culture is concerned, the technology piece and the entire setup which is there, which is yet far different than where I worked before in different environments of US, Canada, or for that matter of fact in India as well. But now coming here, I've realized that doing on your own, it's quite difficult, isn't it? You have to do everything end to end on your own, since your entire family is in India. And then it's like you have nothing to do apart from just doing work and coming back and having some nice dinner and lunch. Uh, it is initially it was very tough, but yes, considering the motivation and all the projections which I already had in my mind, how I want to go about with this opportunity, I slowly latched onto it. But yes, in this, I feel most importantly, if any of people do migrate for the career purpose away from their hometown, I think health is something which is very important that you need to always tap on.
Agreed. Now, I'm going to share one quick perspective about health and fitness, and then we'll go ahead and conclude with your next year
Oh,
plans. So,
yeah.
one important perspective I need to provide when it comes to health and fitness, especially for entrepreneurs and executives, is understanding the real requirements to actually drive change in your health and fitness. Though, why am I wanting to speak about this? Because a lot of entrepreneurs and executives don't start their health and fitness journeys because of the perceived requirements of what it requires to make their transformation. Now, if we were to look at the requirements of making a physical transformation, you'll find out that the main driver is a negative energy balance. Now, what is a negative energy balance? It's when you're getting enough movement in the day and combining that with the right food intake. But now that we've identified what the core requirements are, what we need to do is find the most effective pathway to adhere to those requirements. One specific advice I would give is with that movement you need to get, leverage a location independent approach. Something you can do anytime and anywhere. Because when you have that, the barriers to making your transformation are little to none. Now, the example I would give is leveraging step count. Why? Because if there's floor beneath you, you can walk around. If you're taking a phone call, if you're listening to a podcast like this, you can leverage step count at the exact same time. Now, it doesn't matter if you just do 10,000 steps, it won't transform. You won't transform at all. You need to pair that with the right food intake, and then you'll make an excellent physical transformation. Now, a lot of people believe that step count is not enough, but it is more than enough. For example, I've lost over 70 pounds by leveraging strategy. So the main thing I would say is understand the requirements and find the most effective pathway to adhere to those requirements, and you'll make your transformation. So with that, I'll conclude the fitness conversation. I'll go ahead and move on to Kieran's next year plans.
My fitness plan.
Or your next year plans when it comes to your work and in terms of what you want to include for the podcast.
Absolutely. I think I'm very much focused, and my plan is, currently the existing systems which I have, the opportunity or the assignment that I have. There are a lot of data, fragmented data across different locations. I want to bring it under one umbrella and have that particular data layer, and then on the top of that, maybe I initially start with having some large language models, the NLP models which are there, and give some, a layer where an organization can basically derive some details or insight out of it, whatever the data is available. Because as far as was I see is that we have data across of the customer data across all the different kinds of lines of business, right? And the cross selling can be done if we can basically do a proper customer segmentation on the top of it. Over and above that, we are also basically got an assignment to upbeat the entire sales area, where how you can do basically the agentic force, how you basically can help Salesforce to leverage the newer technologies which are there as far as the customer acquisition